Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Bonkekook here, aka the Lonely Achievement God, and I'm coming at you with another 100% achievement walkthrough today. We are going to take a look at the game Project Starship. Project Starship is the initial title from Panda Indie Studio, the developer that was launched onto the Xbox family of consoles, published by East Asia Soft, and was initially released on the 12th of February of 2020. It is currently purchasable for a price of $4.99. Of course, your currency may vary depending on your region. So this is a pretty fun little shmup. If you come over to this one from any of the other shmups that Panda Indie Studio currently has out, you may feel like it's a bit rougher around the edges. The art is all hand-drawn. There are no dash attacks or anything like that to make the game a little easier. But there are a couple of tips and tricks that will make this game and the 1000 gamer score a walk in the park, excuse me. We're going to be looking at about 25 to 30 minutes for your 1000. Kind of depends on how lucky you get going through the game, but we'll cover all of that as we are going through together. I am going to be recording over previously recorded footage so that you get the game audio in the background but still hear my silky smooth voice. So let's get started here. We'll start the footage and we're going to go over the achievement list real quick. There are 18 achievements for 1000 gamer score, and almost all of them are cumulative, meaning you can play through as many times as you want and die as many times as you want, and most of these achievements will eventually unlock just from beating your head against the wall enough times. These first three, the ouch, 1, 2, and 3 achievements, are for taking damage, essentially. You start the game with some shields. All you need to do is get hit. I think you start with like 2 or 3, maybe even more than that. Oh, so if you really wanted to, you could wipe this out in the first couple of playthroughs just by starting the game and letting yourself die, but I wouldn't worry about it. You will likely get damaged quite a bit, and even if you don't, again, it's very easy to take care of at the end of the game once you have all the other achievements. The next 3 achievements, the lovely little things, 1, 2, and 3 achievements, are for collecting pickups, which are basically power-ups. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. There are some power-ups that are super handy. There are some that are not so much. I do recommend picking up all of the pickups that have a letter. So if it says S or P or R or any of that, grab the pickup. There are other pickups that show up like a broken TV. That one is relatively useful. There are some that show up that are like swords and icons and stuff like that, and I honestly recommend avoiding those. More often than not, those icons made my run significantly more difficult. They either transferred shields that I had built up for power and I wound up dying faster, or other things like that. There's one that completely wipes out your shield. So I don't know enough about them to tell you which ones are good and which ones are bad. I know there's a cross that shows up that is light blue, and when it turns red, you don't want to grab it. It does hinder your progression more than it helps. If you can grab it when it's light blue, it helps you out quite a bit. So I would pick and choose those ones. Honestly, as I mentioned, more often than not, those regular ones, or the more elaborate ones, I guess would be the proper term, like a sword and all that, were more trouble than they were worth. But if you ever see the pickups with the S, the P, the R, the A, all of those different letters on them, always grab those. This achievement might be the very last one that you unlock as you're going through. It really depends on how lucky you are with some of the other ones. The next 3 achievements are the Are You Mad 1, 2, and 3. I will point out you need to view 6 mad events. Now, mad events have always been working well for me this week while I've recorded these videos. I do remember when I first started that there were some people that had trouble getting them to pop, and I actually had to do an extra playthrough over what I expected. So I think there is something you can do that eliminates mad events, because I was getting 2 per run for most of my playthroughs, and this last playthrough I did not. I'm not sure if it has to do with a power-up, and I just am not aware of it. So Relatively speaking, that may be your last achievement as well, depending on how well you do, because you could, in theory, get most of the achievements within 3 runs, and then you may have to make another run or two to get the last couple of mad events or power-ups. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The next 3 achievements are for killing a bunch of enemies. That's self-explanatory. The next 3 are for bosses. There is something to note with bosses. The bosses tend to be random. I don't know if they are completely random, but there is a boss that is absolutely useless. And I don't mean this in a good way, because it is a rock maze, essentially. Just a path that you have to navigate through a rock. And it doesn't count towards any of the boss achievements. And if you are unlucky, you may face this boss on your first couple of runs. There's not much I can do about it. You'll just have to make another run or two at the end to get your boss kill total finished, if that happens to you. Most of the other bosses are fairly easy. Again, there's a little trick the game has put into the game that makes it significantly easier. So we'll cover that when we get into the game here. But again, you could die and just replay the first level to kill the boss over and over again to get the kill 4 bosses achievement. You don't have to progress through the first 4 levels or anything like that in order to get that achievement. And the last 3 achievements are for score total. Again, with the trick that I will be explaining to you, this should be a piece of cake. You probably won't get this by the end of your first level, but more than likely, as long as you defeat bosses on the first 2 levels, you will have this very easily. Again, it is worth noting that if that maze boss shows up, you do not get any points for that, so that could hinder your progress towards that achievement. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. And we are going to, right off the bat, tell you about the trick that makes this game a piece of cake. So A button, well actually, I apologize, character select, pick Gwen. I don't know if it makes a big difference, but all of my best runs have been using Gwen on easy. I don't think there's a significant difference between the two, to be completely honest with you, but I'm going to recommend the way that I have done it. So go ahead and grab Gwen, and right off the bat, press the A button to fire, the left analog to move around, and you are going to press the left trigger. Now, the left trigger will make your playthrough a little bit longer because it slows everything down, and in a bullet hell / shmup, that is an invaluable asset. Honestly, doing this without the left trigger wasn't all that difficult either. I was able to get 1,000 gamer score in about 25 minutes on my one run that I was going to record footage for. And then I had completely forgotten that the left trigger slowed everything down, and this makes this game a piece of cake. So, I am going to run you through all 1,000 Gs. I'm going to stay with you across all my playthroughs and narrate some of the things you should be looking out for. There are 2 different loadouts of enemies. You get the wide open eyeball here and some different enemies that accompany that. And there's another loadout of enemies that can spawn where it kind of looks like it's an eyeball with a bunch of eyelashes, and some laser enemies spawn on the right and left side. So I actually found the one we got now to be easier, and this is the one troublesome mad event. These are the mad events we talked about for the achievement. I cannot for my life figure out what I'm supposed to do with the black hole. I just can't. I don't know why. Every time that showed up, I almost lost my life and many times did die. Luckily, we survive here and continue on our journey here to the 1,000. If you pay attention here, you'll notice we almost died. And then we managed to use the left trigger to bring ourselves not only back to life, but to thriving using the shield power-ups that we keep collecting, the S's there. As I said, always pick up the lettered power-ups that drop. Those are always useful for you to grab. I'll try to point out some of the power-ups you want to avoid. We got our first boss here. This one is relatively easy, especially with the left trigger. It is worth noting, again, the power-ups you get can make bosses way easier or way harder. If you have damage power-ups, the bosses die significantly faster, which means less time spent avoiding all of the bullets they send at you. As you can see, we're just using the left trigger to slip and slide out of the paths. Relatively untouched. Every time I say this guy was really easy, then I end up taking damage in the video, so I'm going to refrain from doing that on the off chance we took damage. So there we go, we're about to defeat the boss. As you can see, we're up to 64k. Now those power-ups right there, that one is very useful. We got a super laser. Some of the other ones are not. There's a sword one that I always felt hindered my progress. There's a couple like the cross that I mentioned that if you get it right away, it's good, but if you don't, it can hinder your ability to progress. Like, more often than not, they're not worth experimenting with. But the laser one, if you see that L like we just got, that one is very useful to have. Especially if you have a turret flying around with another one. And we're going to get another turret here. The T stands for turret. Got a second one flying around firing a laser. We hit our 100k and we are not even halfway through the second level yet. Because the laser, every attack from a laser increases your point total, and when we have two turrets floating around shooting everything, got a normal power up there, which is an EMP. The normal power-ups like the TV, the cell phone, the EMP, there's a presidential missile or something like that one as well. Most of those were not useful. The only one I like to keep around was the TV, because it wipes all of the bullets off of the screen, so it can save you if you're in a pinch. I have no idea what the phone one does. I have no idea. Really, I don't know what the EMP does either. Both times I used it, I didn't really notice anything happen, but that may just be a situational thing. The presidential one fires out a row of rockets. Okay, so this is one of the mad events. Do not shoot at this one. Let him fly off. If you shoot at him, he returns fire in bullet patterns like a bullet hell, and it can make it exponentially more difficult to get through that. If you don't fire at him, he doesn't fire at you, and it's a very simple one to get through.
Mecha turret.
So just letting you know that, as I said, I'm gonna let you know all of the different twists that we run into. Here's another boss. Which one is this? This one is relatively easy with the left trigger too, especially since we have the powered up laser. This guy dies very quickly. And then I said he was easy, so of course we had to take damage there. But I think we fight this guy later on without power-ups, and it takes a significantly longer period of time. We got another power-up. I grabbed that one because I have no idea what it does, and it doesn't seem to hurt us. But again, watch out for those ones. And this level, honestly, it's probably worth it just to die on it. There aren't a lot of enemies, there aren't a lot of power-ups, there aren't a lot of pickups, and if you're looking to get your 1000 G as quickly as possible, you need to take damage anyways. The first couple of levels are the easiest and the quickest for boosting some of these achievements and getting them taken care of. And this level is just about avoiding a bunch of bullets with not a lot of enemies to kill for it. So, I honestly would not criticize you for just letting yourself die and moving back to the beginning of the first level and trying again, because as I said, there's just a lot that's going on this level and there's not a lot of reward for it. So we'll die here pretty quick. I don't remember how long, but you can also see our point total there, 350k. Not trying to brag, just pointing out that if you get a good run, the 100k point total is insignificant. And using the left trigger is very, very important. Now, it's up to you whether you want to just keep it held down all the time. I try to balance when I use it, but there we go. Finally died at 364k. It is worth noting that the point total achievements do not pop until you die, so if, as you can see, the 10k, and if you keep watching, the 50 and 100k will be popping in the upper left-hand corner, and we just took a quick pit stop to figure out what exactly we still have to do, and there's still too much to do, so we're just gonna start another playthrough and work our way killing everything. Got a mini boss here. This is one of the more difficult mini bosses in my opinion, but with the left trigger, the pattern of the bullets he fires doesn't really matter. If you're doing this at full speed, it can overwhelm you very quickly, but using the left trigger, it's a relative piece of cake. Again, grab all of those power-ups with the regular letters behind them, and as long as you avoid that black hole mad event, then you should be golden. And even with us running into that mad black hole last run, we still hit 364k using the left trigger. So again, point total shouldn't be too scary once you get the game down. Obviously every game has some sort of learning curve. Once you get the left trigger figured out, you should be golden. We got this white blob again. Don't shoot it again. We'll just continue making our way through. Sorry, something just fell nearby me. Startled me. Anyways. Didn't miss anything. Watch out for those frog-legged eyeballs that float down the screen, because if they make it to the bottom of the screen, they fire bullets out behind you. Watch the bottom left corner there. You'll see what I mean. And that can overwhelm you if you are not paying attention. But also, if you let them get too close to the bottom of the screen, just prepare for the bullets coming out. It's not really worth. As you saw, I got myself hit trying to blow it up before it got to the bottom of the screen, and that turned out to be a bad idea. Not that it really is, because we need to take damage for the one achievement anyways. Got another boss coming up. Flower dude again, I believe. Fortunately, I don't think we get a good variety of bosses in our playthroughs here. The left trigger makes this boss a piece of cake. And of course, just like any of them, the power-ups that you have received can make the difference. Just getting a faster fire rate or more damage or anything like that can make the difference, especially in shmup / bullet hells. A few extra seconds could be a few hundred bullets. So sometimes they'll drop regular power-ups when you kill a boss. Sometimes they'll drop those more elaborate ones that I recommend you try to avoid if possible. There is the TV. I recommend holding on to that if you ever get it. It is the most useful of the power-ups that I've noticed so far. If you get overwhelmed with bullets, as I said earlier, it clears all of the bullets off the screen. Here we got another mini-boss. This one isn't too difficult. You just got to keep an eye on the stars, because the stars explode and send out bullets, but I recommend just staying at the bottom of the screen here. For the most part, his stars don't send bullets down that low, so it's a pretty good spot to just sit and take that guy out. And we will once again continue on. I do much better on this run not running into the black hole, as you can see by the amount of shields we have built up. I don't know what the phone does. I actually think the phone might have something to do with keeping the mad events from showing up, but I don't have any evidence to prove that. I haven't played enough or seen any evidence that supports that. I wound up using a phone, and it felt like a spot where a mad event was supposed to happen, and it didn't, so that's literally the only proof I have that they might be related. And I might be completely off base, so don't take that as gospel. The Lonely Achievement God just shares information to try to help you get your 1000 Gs a little easier. Feel free to let me know if you would prefer a shorter format. I always appreciated games and content creators that showed me the entire path to 1000, even if, you know, it was relatively simple like these games have been. I liked having the full video to show exactly what I needed to do. And this isn't meant to be disrespectful to any of the other content creators. This is a personal preference of mine. And maybe they're doing the right thing for their audience. And so let me know if you would prefer that I do an abbreviated intro and versions and just cut to when achievements pop and stuff like that. But for the time being, I'm going to continue to give you my full playthroughs, show off exactly what I do to get the 1000 G, and give you as much information about enemies and patterns and power-ups and all that as I can as we work through the games. I got kind of overwhelmed there, so I used my TV. And then again, the left trigger is your friend. I cannot stress the left trigger enough, because I went through a couple of times not even realizing it was a thing, because the game doesn't really explain that to you unless you look at the controls, and who does that? I'm kidding, you should probably always look at the controls. This boss is repeat as well, I believe, and we have far less damage upgrade or bullet upgrade or whatever we had on the last playthrough, so these phases take significantly longer on this run than they did on the other. We had a laser last time, if I remember correctly, and this time I think we still have, I don't know that we have like base damage, but we're really close. We might be a step up above base damage, so. But, on one other hand, it does allow you to build up your point total significantly faster. As you can see, we're up to 164k. I think you get points based off of hitting the enemy, so if you have weaker bullets, you could, in theory, just not really grind out the point totals, but you could lengthen time spent at the boss hitting it to get your point totals up. Not that it matters, again, the point totals achievements are not overly difficult to get. But it's a good object lesson at just how the upgrades can affect your playthrough. With how many bullets that are coming out, we're spending much more time on the boss, which is giving us more of a chance to get hit if we make a mistake. There we go, I think that's the boss achievement. And I just double check what we have here. The shields, pickups, and mad events. So I believe, if I remember correctly, I immediately let myself die. Think about it for a second or two, but okay, so it wasn't immediate. I'm pretty sure I do let myself die on this. Yeah, I just start flying into enemies, because, again, that third level just doesn't have a lot going on, and I thought about trying to fight the mini-boss, but I also realized the mini-boss is a real easy way to get hit very quickly, so managed to get some of my shields done, and we just restart a third run. We still got about 12.5 minutes remaining before we get our 1,000 gamer score. And we got a different run of enemies. I don't think we've had the eyeball enemies yet. For these specific eyeball enemies, there are the two loadouts. I always found this loadout more stressful, although we have a mini-boss here. And again, the left trigger makes this mini-boss significantly easier. Feel free to rubber band it down while you are playing. It will make things a little bit longer, but it will make it significantly easier. But these eyeball enemies have the lasers that come in from the left and the right, and I always feel obligated to try to kill everything. Instead, in all reality, I probably should just sit in the middle at the back of the area and let them fire their lasers, and then just continue on. But as you can see, I try to strafe right and left to kill all of them, and it makes for a little more stressful of an experience.
Shield.
So it's frog leg eyeballs that we don't want to let get to the bottom. And again, the lasers fire once, and I believe they don't fire again, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go out of my way. Now, granted, I can't fire through them, and that could be a problem, or, you know,
Power.
doing damage to the enemies in the center, but there I tried to kill them and just got myself damaged. Not that it matters too much. We got the achievement for losing shields, and we're still doing relatively fine. So again, taking damage, not a big deal, but if you're looking to get further into your runs, you obviously don't want to waste hits on stupid maneuvers like the one I pulled. This boss isn't overly difficult, but it can be very frustrating because of his movement pattern. The second and third phases, his speed increases, and because of the way he fires bullets, it can be difficult to get hits on him for a significant period of time. So if your damage isn't upgraded very much, this boss could be a pain in the butt. As you can see, we have to time when we shoot him and try to avoid taking damage from all of the bullets, as well as staying out of his way. You know, ring power up. That one is useful to grab. As you can see, we get two little energy blasts coming out of the ring. I think they're coming around of corners, but the ring is spinning. Corners on a ring. Yeah, way to go, Bonkekook. Edges. There's 2 points on the edges that I believe are firing, but the ring is spinning, so sometimes the bullets go all over the place. But it's not a bad one to get. Again, I'm going to explain the ones I've seen, and I do recommend avoiding them unless, if you already have your 100k, then you can experiment, and dying isn't really that big of a deal. But for your 100k run, try to avoid those power-ups, because more often than not, they hindered my progression. But we finally made it through that boss. We still get to keep the ring. And the ring is a little bit annoying, to be honest with you. For the boss, it was kind of useful because of his pattern, but for regular enemies, you're not having a constant stream in one direction. Your ring is spinning or whatever it is doing, so you're never firing in the same spot for a prolonged period of time, and it can make accuracy an issue. So it's not one of the worst power-ups you can grab, but overall I don't know if it's all that helpful because of the lack of accuracy, even though you are getting a second stream of bullets. So we're up to 83k, again just showing off that it's not overly difficult to get to 100k, and we have about 8 more minutes of footage remaining, and I think we get one more run. I think we die. Actually, I think we get the rock wall boss on this run. I could be wrong, though. It's happened once before. I have it marked down in my calendar. But the rock boss is just such a letdown. Honestly, for what is a relatively fun game overall, that black hole mad event that I just can't seem to figure out the pattern for, and the rock wall boss kind of brought it down for me. Like, it's still a fun game, and I've enjoyed my time playing through it. I always enjoy games that allow me to stack power up upon power up upon power up to get, you know, super powerful. Always a good feeling. But that boss one being a rock wall is a difficult thing to forgive.
Overload.
If it would have counted for the achievement, then so be it. Obviously, I'm an achievement hunter, so I'm biased about that kind of stuff, but it didn't. We got the president button. Keep an eye out here. I don't remember when I use it. Those little green marbles are a pain in the butt. So keep an eye out for those so you don't get hit. I think they show up about halfway through the second level. Here we got a mad event. And this one is one of the simpler ones. You just have to avoid that laser. And it follows a pattern. I get myself hit because of the green ball. Take some more damage. Even with the left trigger, some of these are insanely difficult to get through. So don't know how I didn't take damage from those. Pretty sure I got hit. Excuse me. We got another boss. This is the eyeball boss. He is not overly difficult, although we are powered up here, so you're not going to see very much of him. I think I might die, actually, here. Yep, there we go. I did. So we still have power-ups and mad events, so we start another playthrough. Could be wrong in saying this is our last one, but we shall see. We got about 5 minutes left on the footage. Got our eyelash eyeballs here, and we will continue killing everything that moves, like a good video game pro tag.
Shield.
Just another mini boss. This is one of the easier ones for me. He has two, patterns of bullets that are being spit out, and it's relatively easy to time them, even without the left trigger slowdown move that we figured out. Yeah, I was about to post a 100% achievement walkthrough for this without the left trigger. And then I started trying to research the bosses and stuff like that, and I realized, oh wait, left trigger. That made things a lot easier. So here's another relatively simple mad event. You just have to avoid the blobs coming down the screen. And then there's that blue cross. If you can get it right away, it's really helpful. If you wait too long, it turns red and it is bad for you. So keep that in mind, of course, as I've been pointing out.
Shield.
And I am kind of laser focused on the power-ups because I know I need power-ups and the mad events are the last two achievements that I'm trying to get here. So those black balls that I've been destroying tend to drop power-ups, so I focused on that and took damage. Of course, I only have 12 hits left or so before I die. And now we have the stupid boss. I honestly don't think there is anything specifically that triggers these bosses. I think it is just a random thing, so if you are unlucky on your first couple of runs, you may not unlock the boss achievement boss kills achievements as quickly as we do in the video here. And it can be frustrating, especially if you run into the black hole and die a couple times or something like that. There is our 50 pickup achievement, so we just have to find, I believe, one more mad event, and we got 2.5 minutes yet left, so I'm thinking it happens on this run, on this second level here. So there's the president button again. Not a terrible power-up, but it's, I don't know that it really did anything for us. Missiles power-ups that we got are doing some work for us, though. They tend to follow enemies around, and we must have unlocked a bunch of them because we're firing like 6 missiles at a time.
Overload.
Minute and a half left or so.
Overload.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you taking the time to check out my walkthroughs and my content. I gotta give you the content creator spiel, like, subscribe, share my content. Check out the website, likewalkthroughs.com. There's even more Project Starship achievement content on the website, and for many other games as well. I'm hoping to get it up. I actually don't have the Project Starship stuff up on the website quite yet. That's a project for this week, but I do appreciate the traffic checking that stuff out, because I hope to bring you guys a lot more achievement content in the future. We got less than a minute, so I know I run into this mad event here, and then I don't think we even finish it, because we got our 1,000 gamer score, and we will be done. Another completion for the trophy case. 1,000 G is 1,000 G, man. I don't care how you get it, as long as it's relatively legal, I guess. Here we go. We got our mad event. The achievement pops. I try to pause the game and it doesn't let me, so I get trapped in the corner. There we go. Pause the game. Check our 18 achievements for 1,000 gamer score. And that's all I got for you, ladies and gents. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know down below and at the contact information I've dropped in the video description. But if you don't, I will see you guys next time.